So my last question, I want to ask what chapters you would recommend people read. First, for novices, people with no background with social media, and then for the experts who think they know everything, what chapters are they going to find something new?
Okay, so our wonderful book.
Yep.
There are, how many chapters did we write? It
I
was a
think
lot.
there's 28.
28
All good.
chapters.
Fantastic content in every
They're
chapter.
all good.
Yeah.
They're all good. I think for the novice, I think you're going to have things like, all social networks do the same thing. We bust that myth, and that kind of talks a little bit about what I mentioned before, that each social network kind of has its own little nuances and fits slightly differently with the other. So, we talk about all of the channels and the changing behaviors there and motivations for those channels. So I think novices would find that useful. I think they're going to find things about the fact that it's not just purely a marketing function. We talk a lot about that, and internal facing and external facing. Sharing more content is always better, because I think there's a lot of kind of, let's just go onto the channels and fill the feeds. And that's not what we want to be doing, because that's just...
Yeah, like you said before, quality over quantity is always important. Yeah,
absolutely. Which again leads us probably into like chapter 10, which was all about social media is purely for broadcasting.
Yeah.
And we talk about the importance of listening. And I think if you're starting out on social media, as I said in that leadership, in our leadership video, that actually listening is gold. So I think, read all of them. I would say to everybody, but those are probably some of the chapters that if you're starting out, you're going to find useful. That said, going on to the second part of your question, which is what about for those people who aren't novices, people that are quite seasoned professionals, what are they going to find useful? I think we've brought everybody right up to speed with data, policies, in the workplace, the challenges around some of those things. So what we have done is taken all the kind of critical aspects that somebody very seasoned would probably know, but we've actually given them, and this is where you are right now with it, So, and that's what I found when I sent this out to some of my peers to review the book. Those were the comments that they were coming back with. They weren't coming back and saying, oh, wow, this is great for the beginner. You'll note on all of the reviews and the great praise that we had in the beginning of the book, from those things that wonderful people reviewed it for us. And some of them were unforgiving, people were honest, people were really honest, which is great. But the beauty was that everybody came back and said, wow, I learned something here. And a number of people who I really respect said, this is not just for beginners. There's some good stuff in there if you're starting out, but there's some equally great stuff if you're a seasoned professional. You're going to learn something. And I think that's the complementary position between the both of us, Ian.
Definitely.
Is that we've come at it from that's why I think this is a very different book to some of the more traditional social media books that are out there. Like the first book I wrote, The Business of Being Social, this is very different to that, because this is talking about business and the challenges of business and how digital technologies fit into that as well. So I think that it covers a lot. It really does cover a lot. What about you? What would you say in that?
Yeah, I think even thinking of the chapters that I learned stuff on, there was that data protection and privacy chapter where I requested all of my data from every company who has anything on me. So I think I did about 100 requests. So I talked about, all the data that people have, all the data that companies have. And it was interesting for me to see that it was only about 6 or 7 companies that had absolute reams of data. Most of the other companies don't collect a lot of data about people. From a kind of marketing perspective, I would recommend a lot of companies up their data collection because some of it was very basic customer history. I would have expected it to be more. But then the companies that have a lot, like Google, has my entire location history for the last 8 years. So in that when I had Google phones, so there's a couple of years where they don't have my location history. But I published that in the book to show the kind of national, international level of being able to track where I've been. I didn't publish the specific stuff because you could track all that data down to street level about what shops I go to all the time, what routes I often take, where I would normally visit if I'm traveling. And that was all in Google's database. So just interesting to see the scale of how that is used, and in most cases, how it isn't used. So that kind of stuff was really interesting for me. And for me, just unpicking some of the myths of the psychology of it, like fake news. How does this really manifest? How does it develop? How does it evolve? And how do we combat it? I think even if all the platforms we talk about in this book were to disappear tomorrow, all of the points we're making would still be as relevant and interesting to any business.
Absolutely. And they're not going to disappear. I mean, people have been saying, Facebook's going to disappear. Facebook's going nowhere.
No.
And things will continue to evolve, and different demographics will continue to evolve to different channels, and it will just keep churning, and maybe some new ones will come along, and maybe some things will merge, and there'll be some hybrids, and who knows, but it's not going anywhere fast. And so our critical message is, it's a little bit, people, it was quite funny because somebody sent me a meme saying, oh, what finally got people to look at digital transformation? Was it the new CMO? Was it the new CEO coming in from a digital? No, it was COVID-19, that kind of
forced everyone to do it.
Forced everybody to kind of think about, oh my goodness, we are truly in a digital world, and we are truly connected via digital. These social media technologies, or social technologies with lots of media going through them, are far-reaching, powerful and critical business tools. And so from a leadership level, it's really important that everybody gets to understand and know about them. From a marketing and communications level, it's really critical. From a workplace psychology level, it's absolutely critical. From an HR perspective, and I think this book that we've designed here covers all of that.
Yeah, it does.
Covers all of that, which is difficult to put into a title.
I know. Yeah, we struggled with that, but I think we managed it.